Our company was founded not on a large vision for a big national company. It was founded out of necessity. My wife and I have been together a really long time, since we were 12 years old, and we got married young. I was back in college trying to finish my education, and my wife was pregnant with our first son. So that forced me to drop out of college and go get a job to help support our family. When I got a job, I took a job as a lube technician changing oil in Kernersville, North Carolina, and that's how I got introduced to the quick lube industry. Back then, quick lube technicians were making $7.50 to $8 an hour, and so it's not enough money to support a baby, a family. So I'd asked the owner of that quick lube, who was building a second one, if I could apply to be a store manager or an assistant manager, and was met with no, I was doing a good job as a pit technician, which I'd done for about a year and a half. I recognized that my only hope to do something more was to start a business. I didn't have a college education, I didn't have any work experience or any white-collar connections. I put together a business plan with a friend in a bar for his 30th birthday party, and I said, here's how I think this should work, and I laid it all out. And funny enough, he kept that paper, and it's still in our corporate office today. So I went and pitched that idea to 2 or 3 dozen different banks and local investors and business incubators, and we were met with no, typically within the first 15 to 20 minutes of the conversation. I had less than $1,000 to my name, so we really didn't have any startup capital. And then, my grandfather, who was a really important figure in my life, had paid for his house through sheer amortization over the course of owning it for 55 years. He lived in the same house whole life, and it appraised for $61,000. And so he was able to get a home equity loan for $35,000. So one night he called me and asked how the raise was going, the fundraising. And I told him not well, and looked like I was not going to have an option to try. He invited me to his house for dinner, which I went over and had dinner with him and my grandmother once or twice a week for quite some time. So that wasn't out of the ordinary. And we went to his bedroom. They had separate bedrooms, pretty old school, traditional family. And my grandfather said, I don't have much, but I've got a $35,000 home equity loan, and you write a check for what you need to start the business. So we maxed it out, and that's not nearly enough to start one of these facilities. I found a company that was willing to give me a rent abatement, free rent for a few months. And then Mark Agan, who funny enough hired me into the quick lube industry, needed a job. And so he joined me for virtually no money. And him and I together went in and we built podiums out of plywood from the farm, and did some coding and software. And then we were buying oil by the quart and whatever we could do to stretch that $35,000. And, it took 6 or 7 months worth of some pretty extreme pain to get it off the ground. But after about a year, we had 7 employees, and we were smart with the profits that we did have, and continued to invest in new stores and the employee base. And today we've got about 300 locations around the country. So, that's a story I'm really proud of personally. It really is an American dream story. And we're just an average family. So I live on a cattle farm today. And I'm forever grateful to my grandfather for our start.